There are so many videos out there about the best attachments and setups for various weapons. I've done some myself, and they can be really helpful when you're looking for your next go-to class in Warzone. But I've found over the many months that Warzone has been out, the best meta weapons generally follow the same pattern in terms of the attachments. I thought I'd share them with you here so you can instinctively know the best attachments for basically any weapon on Warzone, whether they're Cold War or Modern Warfare weapons. Of course, you may still find other videos helpful on best attachments if you want to confirm your choices or want to see alternative attachment choices that are maybe against the grain a little bit. The attachments I'm going to share with you are just a rule of thumb for most weapons, and not necessarily the best choice for every single weapon. Most, though, will be covered. On top of this, there's still a bit of subjectivity, like some attachments are set up for range and recoil, whereas others are based around more close range battles, but I'll discuss them here. So let's start by looking at the best AR attachments. First up, we've got the muzzle. Of course, in Warzone we want a silencer on to avoid getting chased down by 150 other players. The best silencer is monolithic suppressor for Modern Warfare weapons, and tactical suppressor for Cold War weapons. The good thing now is that Call of Duty updated the tactical suppressor within just Warzone to match the monolithic suppressor advantages and disadvantages. So they both now of course suppress sound and cover you from the minimap, as well as increase your damage range. You lose some aiming down sight speed and aiming walking steadiness, but not much, and the positives outweigh the negatives by a long way. So those attachments on the muzzle are probably the most obvious ones. So let's move on to the barrel. The barrels will be called different things for different weapons, but generally there's a trend of the larger inch barrels that actively improve damage range, bullet velocity and recoil control being the very best ones. These are basically the perfect barrels for Warzone. Examples of what I mean are the Singard Arms 19.8 inch barrel on the Kilo, stock M16 Grenadier for the M4, which is the 20 inch barrel. For the Grau, it's the 26.4 inch barrel, then it's the same for Cold War weapons too. The Krig, for example, is best with the 19.7 inch range barrel, and the M16 is great with the 20.5 inch barrel. They'll have negatives with the barrels of course, but generally on Warzone you want the velocity and damage range, and these big barrels are perfect for just that. For the Optic, there's many options in GUNSMITH, but in reality there's only a few you should be looking to use. One optic you could use is, well, nothing. If the iron sight is good enough on the weapon, then by all means just run that. But most of the time we want to be looking at the VLK x3 and Corp Combat for Modern Warfare weapons, then the Royal and Cross x4, Axial Arms x3, and something more standard like the Microflex LED for Black Ops Cold War ARs. Anything else are either too slow to aim in or too difficult to see clearly. For ammunition, basically anything between 45 to 60 rounds is perfect for assault rifles in Warzone. It's enough to knock multiple players and finish them, yet the magazines aren't too big to reduce mobility and ADS speed too much. Obviously there are exceptions like the semi-automatic ARs like the DMR and FAL, but now I'm going to move on to the underbarrels. Again here, there are technically many options, but in reality we only want to be looking at a few. We're talking Ranger foregrip, which reduces a lot of vertical recoil and a bit of horizontal recoil. Then we've got Commando foregrip, which just reduces horizontal recoil. There's Operator foregrip, which only reduces vertical. Then there's Merc foregrip, that heavily reduces vertical recoil. Now it really does depend on which weapon you are using to choose which of these underbarrels you want to use. If in doubt, the Ranger foregrip is a good option since it reduces both recoil types, but maybe do a bit of research and check out which direction of recoil is the worst on your weapon. For Cold War weapons, the underbarrel is a little bit easier to choose for generally. For basically all ARs, they benefit from the Field Agent grip, which improves vertical and horizontal recoil. If you did stick to iron sights, you still have a spot available for your weapon. For Modern Warfare weapons, I advise using a rear grip here, but the choice depends on your personal preference. Do you want even more recoil control, or do you want ADS improvements? Stippled grip tape, for example, is fantastic for ADS and sprinter fire speed, whereas rubberized grip tape is good for recoil control. Again, there are less top tier options for Cold War weapons for the rear grip. The SASR jungle grip is great to improve your ADS time, but none of the Cold War rear grips improve recoil control any further. Okay, so I've covered ARs, which are generally the main type of weapon to go out there on Warzone with. However, I'm going to go over the best SMG attachments just very quickly. SMG attachments are a little more widespread and variant, but again, there are still some universal attachments. For muzzles, again we're mainly talking tactical or monolithic suppressor, or the GRU suppressor, which is essentially the same thing on the AK-47U. For the barrel, if you're going to use one, again use the higher end inch barrels. These are in the description of barrels if they're not in the title, by the way. For example, the FSS Recon is actually a 10.5 inch barrel, or you've got the 10.3 inch Task Force barrel for Cold War SMGs. Lasers are great for hipfire improvements and sprint to fire times on Modern Warfare weapons. There aren't really any OP attachments here, so we'll kind of skip over it. Optics, I just try and skip if you can. Most of the gunfights you're having with SMGs are short distance. You don't need to magnify your vision across map, you just want to be up in their faces. Stocks are great to improve movement speed and ADS speed, but generally you'll lose recoil control and stability. Choosing the right one here is completely dependent on how much you want to improve mobility at the cost of recoil. Sometimes it's well worth having on stocks to maximise your ADS and mobility speed, just because the recoil isn't going to be that important when you're in someone's face. For the underbarrel, it's basically the same deal as the ARs, but I'd probably say the Merc foregrip has the advantage as you get that vertical recoil control and an increase in hipfire accuracy, perfect for SMGs. There isn't a direct equal to this on Cold War, but things like the Spetsnaz Speed Grip and Field Agent Grip are great options. For ammo, just try and max that clip size out. Even if the reloading is slow, you want as many bullets as possible available at one time in Warzone. For rear grip, if you've got space, stippled grip tape is the one you want on your Modern Warfare SMGs, as this increases your ADS and sprint to fire speed. Cold War SMGs would benefit from something like the speed tape for ADS time. There are other attachments that improve more aspects, but they reduce sprint to fire time and you really don't want that on your SMG. I've covered attachments for ARs and SMGs, which I'm sure 99.99% of you at least run one of these a game. I've left out snipers and shotguns because these are kind of more nuanced in terms of attachments and can differ quite a bit between weapons. So they're all my suggestions for attachments for all SMGs and ARs in Warzone, whether that's for Modern Warfare or Cold War weapons. This video I hope has helped you see through the hundreds of gunsmith options that there are, so you can get straight to the best ones and get slaying as much as possible. That's all from me for now though. The video was a little bit technical, but I really do hope it was useful. I've got some more fun videos coming up, so don't worry. Remember to give the video a quick like if you did enjoy it, and of course subscribe if you haven't already for more Call of Duty content. Bye for now.